everybody. Here we go. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. It's good to see everybody here. Welcome back into Let's Talk Live. This is the Monday night wind up, kind of wind down, because we're winding down in the Karen Read case. And obviously there was victory this past Wednesday. And I'm still coming down from the whole thing. I literally haven't lost a smile on my face since Wednesday. And if you've been over here on the channel, we had Nathan Reed on Friday evening. We had a whole host of people in here. Nathan's best friend Adam was in the studio. We had Jess Machado. Jess's friend Aaron was in here taking some photographs. We had Lauren. It was such an awesome hangout to just sit and talk for 2 hours and get Nathan's take on all kind of the behind the scenes stuff that we've been wondering about. You know, how did they handle this, and how is Karen handling this, and what was it like for the attorneys back in, behind the scenes. And it was such a great interview. If you haven't watched that, please go over and make sure to check it out on my channel. It's in a 2-hour exclusive interview. Sit down here live in the studio, and it was great. It made my 2 years. And then obviously we're post Karen Read. I went up to the Dedham standout the other day. It was nice to see a lot of the faces that I've seen down there and kind of clear the air. We finally clear the air in a lot of this stuff and shake some hands and get some photographs. And then we had Blessed by Kelly and Nathan that came out. And I have a video of that, about a 20-minute video I put together. It was really nice to interview some of the locals and talk to them, Peter Murphy, Dina, and it was just really great. So great all around. But one person we haven't heard from yet is Todd McGhee. And I've been excited and waiting to get his reactions and all of this. And I said, Todd, we got to get you back on, me, you, and Nan, the three amigos, and do a reaction show. And I want to hear from him tonight. So this is like, we're going to focus on Todd tonight, focus on his reactions. I know he's excited to go through this, but let's not wait too much longer. Let's bring in my guests that are back, the three amigos live. Todd McGhee, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Happening. Good to see you, my friend.
It's so good for you to be here. We have the one and only, the lovely, only Nan Gallagher. Super Nan, I always call her.
Hey, guys, how are you? We're back together.
Three amigos back together. Todd, come on. Give us your reaction. Victory, Todd. Come on. Tell us.
Yeah, total victory for Karen Read, for Team Read. The jurors got it so right. I was on Canton Confidential last Wednesday once the verdict was released, and Glenn Jones had asked me a question: did I think that Karen Read was overcharged? My response was yes. And the prosecution apparently didn't learn from trial 1.0 all of the elements, all of the areas that they were weak on. And I'm just going to use this word, arrogantly went ahead and prosecuted her on a second time. And the second follow-up question was, well, why do you think they had a new prosecutor, they had a new strategy, and even with that, what did we see? The exact same results as the first trial. 12-0 on counts 1 and 3, and then they took some time to really process what all that second charge meant on verdict slip number 2. And again, they landed on the OUI, which we all kind of expected. So no surprises there. So again, best case scenario happened. No mistrial this time around. Guaranteed the Commonwealth would have, in their arrogance, would have gone for a third prosecution.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people, before I go to Nan, I heard a lot of people talking about the OUI charge. And, from what I'm understanding now and some more clarity in that was actually put on the verdict slip by the defense team to say, hey, if you don't find her here, we kind of know that there's been and I'm just speculating here. We kind of know that Karen's come out and said it was drinking that night. And from what I'm understanding is that, this was kind of put on to say, hey, if I'm not guilty of all these, serious crimes, at least, you have the OUI charge to come back on. Nan, tell us about all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it was very creative on the part of the defense to add the OUI charge under the lesser includeds. It was, I've heard Bettero refer to it as like an off ramp for, he used the word off ramp. I'm saying off ramp for culpability, which is, legal responsibility for a crime. It was kind of put in as a little bit of a breadcrumb for jurors who potentially felt like, I feel like I need to tag her with something. She had admitted to drinking and shouldn't have been driving in one or more of those documentaries or interviews. So they included it as just a, hey, if you feel that there needs to be some level of culpability, here's your off ramp, here's your soft landing. And it obviously was done with Karen's knowledge and assent to do that. And in retrospect, it was the right thing to do because the jury did pick up on the fact that she had been drinking and maybe she shouldn't have been driving that night. And that's happened to many people. Doesn't mean that they've hit anyone with a vehicle. The science and the physics and the medicine all showed us that that didn't happen. But they did feel like they wanted to tag her with that. Maybe that was some type of peace offering or gift. I hate to use the word gift to the O'Keefe family, but it ended up working. So I can't say that it wasn't genius because it sure was. And it will never bring John back. It'll never satisfy the family. It certainly won't satisfy all the antis on social media, but it was the right thing to do. And I'm going to start thinking of doing something like that in my own practice in the future.
There you go. Jenny in the chat says it's the most expensive OUR charge out there. It's probably in history. I mean, probably at least in the history of state of Massachusetts. And the one thing that I want to just put out there too, and I think, we're kind of hearing kind of post-trial and all the articles that are coming out, and the Free Karen Reed crowd, got lost in all of this to John O'Keefe. That is not what happened here. It took Karen Reed to clear her name of, almost just about 4 years to get all of the facts and the true evidence out there so we could all see it all and make that decision to, Karen didn't do this. Clearly, she didn't do this. And, it's like we're hearing the science deniers now. These are people on a normal day that would say the earth is round, but now they're going to turn around and say the earth is flat. Because it didn't align and it didn't work out in their favor. But, when bottom line comes down to is that the jury made its decision. Come to find out, and we just heard this on Aiden's show last night with Juror 11, Paula, when there was some nervousness about, well, were they deliberating the OUI charge on Tuesday? That wasn't the fact. They were just working. They just had a question and they wanted to keep working through. And I was like really surprised because I know a lot of people were like, what's going on? What's going on? Is something going on? And they're like, no, you're just working through the evidence. But my greater point in all of this is it took Karen Reed to come out of this on the other side and have that jury make the decision. And their decision is this. And even Paula has said this, we know that she didn't kill him or hit him, but something definitely went on inside that house. That's a big claim, and hoping I'm hoping here the feds are watching and looking and still reporting. I know Hank Brennan came out today, and we'll get to this later, but he made a statement that the federal case is closed. I'm not buying it.
Me neither.
Yeah,
I'm not buying it. Let's hear from Ian first on that point, and then if Todd, you want to jump in.
Well, I know we're going to be talking about his gratuitous statement today, which I've got a lot to say about later. But when I read that he mentioned the closed federal investigation, I literally laughed. I think I might have choked on what I was drinking at the time because that's all gratuitous, whether he says it or Helena Rafferty. They don't close their investigations and announce it. They certainly don't to the law enforcement agencies and other entities that they're investigating. So that was just a gratuitous little add-on on his part, making it sound like, well, the feds found nothing and the jury made the wrong decision here. And then there are victims in this aftermath of this verdict, meaning the family. and all of the fact witnesses. So
Yeah.
that investigation is still ongoing. I would stake my law license on it, no matter how much Brennan wants to wish it away.
They have to. A Boston police officer died, and they need to answer for that. They need to answer for that. Todd, your comment on possibly this federal investigation still being open.
So I agree with both of your perspectives, but I do want to say that, you know, some of the more recent interviews in the last 24 hours, specifically from Alessi, he had stated there was evidence that was suppressed that was not allowed in.
Massive.
So that just tells me that despite watching the trial play itself out, all the objections during the trial, well, it's clear to me now that the defense was fighting with one hand and one foot tied behind their back throughout the entire trial, more so during the second trial.
Exactly.
It's crazy now, you know, now knowing the end result of what happened, and now, you know, more, like you said, more interviews are coming out. We're getting more information to really see how much the odds were really stacked up against Karen Read and all of this. I mean, we thought it was bad, but now they're able to speak about it, and it's even worse than it was. It's insane. Let's do a couple super chats here, and then I do want to play through some of the verdict, and I want to get Todd's reaction on that as well too. Deborah, thank you so much for the $10. It was a great night, and thank you for that interview. Thank you. You should probably be referring to the Nathan Reed interview. It was really great. It was such a great time. Let's see, Mr. Reed's pants. Mr. Reed's paint tape, $5, says phase one of this expose of Norfolk of the Norfolk DA is done. Free Karen Read, but Morrissey, Bev, Hank, McLaughlin, Tully, Burke, and co need to answer. I completely agree on that. All right, let's pull up this the verdict here. I had it queued, but I just lost it, but we'll get it back. Where am I? Cool. Here we are. All right. Let's hear it. I'm gonna boost the What's the disappointment on her face right now?
Yeah, she's like, "Can I get to my cottage?"
She's so mad. She is mad. So mad right now. And look at Jim. Jim's like, got the I can't effing believe it right now face.
Yeah, so I love it. I love it.
It's so mad. I love it. Look at her. She is mad.
Foreman, on docket number 2282 CR 117001, murder in the second degree. What say you? Is the defendant at the bar guilty or not guilty? Not guilty. So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you? No. Yeah. Do you agree? Yeah. Do all of you agree? Yes. Thank you. 002. What say is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty? Not guilty. Is not guilty or guilty about that charge or any lesser included charge? Thank you. Specifically, number 5, operating under the influence of liquor by operating a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. Correct? Yes. So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all? Yes. 003. What say is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident?
I wonder what Alan whispered to her there. I'd always love to hear what he whispered to her there, because she just kind of shaked her head like, yeah.
I can imagine.
This is over, or like this is over, or we'll take it.
I can imagine, Brian. I think he said one of two things. It's over, or more likely he said something like, we knew that was a possibility.
Yeah. Something
like that, or this is okay. Letting her know that off-ramp was selected. Something to reassure her.
Yeah. Here we go.
Resulting in test. Defendant not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman?
Wow.
So say you all?
Roar.
Jurors, hearkening your verdict as the court records it. You, upon your oath, say the defendant on 001 is not guilty, on 002 is guilty of operating under the influence of liquor, and 003 not guilty. Thank you.
All right, jurors, everybody please be seated. Jurors, we thank you for your service. We're going to send you back your services complete. I'd like to do that with
that moment right here is the best moment in all of this, because David was with her from the beginning. He was with her on January 29th. He was her attorney, and he stayed with her through this entire trial. And I'm so glad that was the first hug, and to see this moment right here and the victory for both of them, because everything that they have gone through, it's just an amazing sight to see this. It really is.
Yeah. And he was an important part of this. The whole
Super
time.
important.
Yeah.
And Liza, like
That's
her best
true,
friend
Dave.
through all this. It's all right, David. You shed those tears, buddy. You worked hard.
Here's the joy.
Yeah. And Robert, oh my God.
They really had a strong team. They all complemented each other.
Not yet. Hold on, everyone. Karen Reed, Ms. Reed, can I have your attention? As required by statute, I must inform you that the records regarding the charges that you have been found not guilty will be sealed by the Commissioner of Probation by the court unless you notify the Commissioner of Probation in writing within 10 days that you do not want these records sealed. To request that these records not be sealed, you may use the request not to seal form, which is posted on the trial court's website on mass.gov. I cannot accept the form here in court. You must submit it to the Commissioner of Probation at the address provided on the form. Please be aware that if the records regarding the charges which you have been found not guilty are sealed, you will be unable to access the sealed record of the not guilty dispositions or any other records regarding those charges. If you want copies of any documents regarding those charges before the record is sealed, you should request copies from the court within 10 days. Do you understand? Thank you.
All right, so we need a date for sentencing. Can we do it next week?
And we would be prepared to go forward today.
Okay. Okay.
Nan, were
Wow.
they prepared? Was the prosecution was ready for that, right? That's why he said we're just going to move forward today. Do you think they had this conversation?
Yeah, I think they were prepared in light of the jury's question from the day before, where it kind of was trending towards maybe they're just looking at better understanding the OUI charge. And honestly, I get the sense that Hank was like, I need this off my desk. You know, I almost signed up for this with my soul. I sold my soul to the devil. This is my opinion. And he was like, let's just get this over with. Because it was a first time OUI. These are very matter of course in the court system. Like they can handle these with their eyes closed and their hands tied behind their back. So I was very happy, just as an aside, that he didn't try to push any pardon my dog barking. She will stop. He didn't try to push any shenanigans here or push for like a heftier sentence or anything like that. But yeah, I think he just wanted it off his plate.
Yeah. Lauren in the chat says, I agree, Nan. I think they had an inkling of what the verdict was going to be. I think everybody really, I mean, there was still a lot of nervousness out on that street because it was just taking, like, we thought, you know, Wednesday, we're going to come in first thing in the morning. They're going to roll out and we're going to have a parade. And it was like, you know, 11, 12, me and Nan go get lunch. And we're like, what the fuck is going on here, Tom? Like, we're like, what's going on? And then it's like 1. And then we started hearing some chatter and all my contacts went silent. And then I just sent the text out and it was my reaction. It was like on our way to the court. And I went, what? I was like, whoa. And I'm like, all right, we need to get in position here because I felt like it was going to happen. And then obviously it was like 2, almost 3 o'clock. And then it happened. Todd, what's your reaction on that?
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. You know, kind of the reaction to all this is that in our analysis throughout the trial, in between both trials, gives you a sense and I'd love to hear your perspective, but it's like we were tracking right along with what not only just the jurors, but we were tracking along with such outstanding defense, you know, and you know, I still have my role with some civil litigation that I do, you know, but to see this play itself out, to trust, you know, your own personal instincts professionally, it was just interesting to see it all play out, just, you know, looking at it from a different angle. So again, Nan, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yes, I felt like, well, first off, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you, Todd, and to thank you, Brian, for being my companions on the journey of Trial 2.0. It's been, you guys have been my touchstones as I've moved through this trial. You've grounded me. I knew that I'd start every week on the right note, which was just calm, clear analysis of the week ahead and the week before us. But I felt the same way, Todd, like we were tracking this and everything. I feel so validated as a group, like as a collective here. We were analyzing, and this is, I don't want any of this to come out arrogantly, but we were kind of analyzing the testimony and where we thought the questions were trending and why certain witnesses were called, why others might not be called. And I felt like and I think everyone feels this way in their lives, validation, like my instincts are good. As messed up as this court is, we seem to be in lockstep with the way it was progressing. So I very much agree with you. And then once that question came out from the jurors, which does seem to have just been, as Brian said, part of them going through all the evidence and crossing their T's, dotting their I's. But once that question came out, I started to inhale a little breath of relief. I never exhaled it until the moment we heard it. And I felt so blessed to have been there. And I also wanted to thank you, Brian, for buying me pizza that afternoon.
We had fun,
guys. He was such a gentleman. Bought me some pizza at Dedham House of Pizza. It was delicious. So thank you.
Yeah, we hung out and just had pizza, and we're watching the TV and we're going, what the fuck is going on? What is going on?
And I kept saying, I said after 2 o'clock. After 2 o'clock.
You were right, Nan. You said after 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I felt good.
What was I gonna say? Damn it! I just lost my train of thought. I don't know. I'll remember it at some point here. I'll go, remember that thing that I was going to talk about? But yeah, I mean, it was electric down there, and it literally was probably one of the greatest things that I've ever been part of. The last 2 years of my life have been so many ups and downs and left and rights, and so full of emotion, and just being able to feel relief. Like I feel like there's a 1,000-pound elephant off my chest now. Like I had so many people that literally ran from me when they knew what I was doing. And I lost a lot of friends, which means they weren't really truly my friends, but I gained so many friends in the end that replaced a lot of those people that left. So it was completely worth it. And to come out here and do something in our community and fight back, I mean, this is so historic. This is a very historic moment for Massachusetts. Like Karen Reed is a freaking icon now. I mean, she is a little icon in Massachusetts and probably around the world. I mean, she shouldered the state of Massachusetts literally on her shoulder with every odd against her, and a judge that would not work with her, and a judge that, in my opinion, that hated her defense team and wanted to throw every monkey wrench into the works. And they just persevered. They worked through it, and they never faltered. We didn't see them cry or complain. Such professionals through all of this, and Karen kept it together. And I just keep going back to the comment, and I'm looking at the photo right now. The time that I got to sit in court that first time, and getting to meet all the attorneys minus Robert Alessi, and I've got to meet him in the retrial quite a few times and spend time with him. But Alan Jackson just saying, like, I thank all you local media and creators that helped out, because if you didn't, this would be a completely different trial for Karen. And I truly believe that. I think at some point, like, once they started hitting court TV and the local stuff, people would have caught on, but I don't think it would have been as big as it turned into. And, that's just a testament to Aiden Carney for blasting this thing wide open and getting it out there and saying, hey, like, let's pull back the curtain of the Wizard of Oz here and really look in. And, he did a phenomenal job. And I think that he deserves every piece of good fortune that comes his way, every accolade that comes his way. He deserves it. He worked hard. And again, I always say this, I would not be here if it wasn't for him. And I thank him, I really do, for allowing us to come in his circle, because a lot of times you see things where people might break a story and they don't embrace the other people around them, and they go, get the fuck out of my circle. I'm doing this on my own. And they might naysay you, but he actually embraced a lot of people. And I think that goes to a lot of things that I saw him change in over the last 2 years. He's a completely different person coming through this. We all are. I have changed so much in my life and the way that I look at life. And, I saw some real changes in him too. So that's my diatribe.
No, I agree with that, Brian. And I also feel that Aiden, this was his whale. I always say, like, this is the whale. He caught this big whale, and it's all his, but it's with everyone helping to analyze it, get the word out, do standouts, have content creation. Every little piece of this pie mattered to her story. And as for her being an icon now, I agree. But at the same time, my heart hurts because she's still going to suffer from some of the
Yeah.
vitriol that's out there. It's
And-
unfortunate.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to take away from the fact that we still have a lot of questions for Officer John O'Keefe that need to be answered. A lot
Right.
of questions. Todd, did you want to jump in there and comment? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just that this trial got the attention that it deserved from, the YouTube world. And we saw mainstream media carry this the way that it handled it. But, their content is always short content. Your content in other channels is long form content, which allows for the analysis,
Right.
which allows for the experts to be able to come in and weigh in on this and really help your audience understand legal nuance, understand law enforcement nuance, so that they kind of expand their knowledge and understanding as they try to figure out the trial and try to make sense of, what's the problem with solo cups? Like,
Mhm.
why is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
Why is a Stop and Shop bag inappropriate? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
You wouldn't know that unless you're in the profession. So I think the format that your channel, other channels provide in a long form format made the difference in this trial.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that comment. Comment for you, Todd, from Miss Lily said, Todd, what do you think about the disgraced proctor asking for his job back?
Yeah, Ms. Lily C, great question. And standard protocol is to go through the appeal process. That's his right to appeal the decision coming out of the superintendent's office. I would envision that this would play out, that if there is any gap in pay, that he would be able to negotiate. That's the best he's going to make out. I don't see a reinstatement for Mr. Proctor.
Yeah, and thank you, Todd, for that. And Lola checking in, $5 says, not to toot our own horn, but we are classy, smart, kick-ass, awesome group of cool people, and we got no quit. And I love that because you know what? I saw so much respect down there the days that I could get down during the retrial of once that buffer zone opened up. And there was at one point, and we're going to play some crowd reaction here in a minute, it was estimated that there was 3,000 people down there in front of the courthouse. And guess what? Not one problem. Everybody was respectful. I didn't see garbage being thrown all over the place.
Mhm.
That's not who we are as free Karen readers. Like, we are not that. And you know what? I almost think, and I hate to think this, but let's just flip it to the other side. If Karen was convicted and had to go through that process, I know people would be angry, but they would have been respectful. And we
Right.
would have said, you know what? It happens, but we're going to work through it and we're going to find a way for it to make this happen and get her out. But we don't have to think about that. It worked. It worked, for Karen. The jury made their decision and so be it. That's what it is. But again, I don't want John to be lost in this because my heart still hurts because there's answers that need to be, questions and answers need to happen. So
No, I agree with that. Yeah, no, everyone was so, I only go for like little days at a time, but I would say every time that I have gone up, everyone has been polite, proper etiquette, supportive. I mean, people were cleaning up garbage when people couldn't shout at the team and they would just put their hands up in the Hunger Games fashion. Everything was done so respectfully. It's one of the reasons I felt very comfortable coming back up. I don't want to be part of infighting on the streets or any of that. So it was just a wonderful environment. And I just want to thank anyone who offered me food and drink that day. There were times I wasn't eating. So it was
warm. It was warm that day. It was warm on Wednesday. All right, let's play this video. This is so great. I had a point of view video passed to me the other night. It's actually from Nathan's friend Adam. He took about a 30-second video here, and we're going to get to see after the verdict was said and Karen was released to go home. They came down the stairs and took this video. Nan, I have a quick question before we play this. So Karen gets acquitted. Is there a small paperwork process that she has to go through before she went out? Because it seemed like it took her about maybe a half an hour, 40 minutes to actually come outside. What
Yeah.
does that look like when you're acquitted?
So on my planet, and I think it's similar on your planet, she has to sign the judgment forms. They have different name in different states, but she's got to sign the verdict form, the judgment form, basically saying, I agree, this is the judgment that was handed down as to me. And then that takes a little time, especially if the clerks in the court are slow. And I imagine she registered with whatever kind of probationary office procedures and forms had to be signed off on for her OUI charge. That was what I was hearing from people, that there was an office she could have gone to fill out paperwork to start processing whatever steps need to be done for her OUI. And I did see that there was at least one form to transfer her OUI to I don't know, to a different county. Not Norfolk County. That I saw that on X today. So I imagine she was signing off on her judgment and then registering for her OUI procedures. Like she's got to take a course as part of her probation for safe driving, etc.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Sophie saying, can we get 1,000 likes? Sophie, it was really nice to meet you on Sunday. She's a big fan of the channel. It was nice to take some photos with her, and it was really great standing out there with you on Sunday. Kind of a post Karen Reed victory down there in Dedham. All right, let's pull this up and show everybody what it kind of looked like coming out into the sea of people, and then we'll play some of that video that I actually captured, and we'll hear Todd's reaction on this.
Oh, fucking shit. Wow. Holy shit.
It's got to be one of their proudest moments, right?
Yeah, amazing. It was almost like another Celtics or Patriots championship,
I know.
to celebrate. What a wonderful moment. They worked hard for it. Didn't come easy, and they towed the line, and the results speak for themselves. Great work.
It's so cool. All right, let's play outside here. So we'll get kind of, now they're outside the courtroom here at that moment. Look at the crowd, Todd. It's
The Petro.
so crazy. Look at Robert. He's so happy. Well deserved.
Brian, some of the media was interviewing some of the people that were there, and a number of people had said, I could be Karen Reed.
Yeah.
Any one of us could have gotten caught up in something. Life takes you where it takes you. And just so many people connected with Karen on that level. And that's another reason why this thing had gone so viral, so to speak.
Yeah. This is amazing. So I will say this, the poppers down there, Todd, did kind of freak some people. I mean, it freaked me out. I thought there was gunshots going off. And then as you kind of look up, you're like, oh, it's confetti. I think we heard maybe 2 or 3 of them that went off. I mean, I was kind of spooked. I was like, what was that? Because
I had my head on a swivel. I didn't like that.
Given today of what things that have happened in a crowd, and look, just what happened less than a year ago with President Trump. There's crazy people out there, and I literally thought at one point it was a gunshot. It scared the shit out of me.
Me too. And I mean, there's people who were opposed to this verdict and who have been, anti all along, I have concerns about their stability. So I too had a similar reaction to that. It was kind of scary. But I did want to mention on a good note that it must have felt great for the defense team to be able to just have an emotional connection with all of the supporters, because they've been so distanced with the gag order and the we've been trying to be very quiet when they're coming and going, and they were able to share that with all of the supporters. And that kind of touches upon what Nathan Reed was telling you last week about, the growth through YouTube and the content creators, and how that really started putting eyes on this case beyond what Aiden had started and continuing with what Aiden has started. So that must have felt really good for them to have that human connection.
Yeah. Let's do this real quick. We'll do this, and then we'll just cut back, and then we'll go to Karen's speech. Question: does Karen get back the bond money or bail money? Sorry, I don't know the correct terminology. So how does that work, Nan?
Yes. So whomever paid her bail. So if her bail was, I don't know what her bail was, but if it was like $500,000, and then 10% of it would have had to have been put down. She will, or the individual who paid the bail will get that money back. Generally, it's not at the time of the judgment. Usually, from my experience, it can take upwards of 3 to 5 business days, but that may have been happening in the courthouse as well. The bail money had been returned to her or her family.
Yeah. I think it was like up to like $80,000 or $100,000 or something like that. It was like insane. All right, we'll just go back here a little bit, and then we'll hear Karen's speech. Let's see them celebrate a little bit here. And I think David, he gives the yeah. There you go. That's what I wanted to see. Good for him. It's such a good win for him.
He's got such a great personality.
A lot of people don't know, but David Yannetti did a pretty great thing back in the 90s when he was a prosecutor. He put away 2 disgusting, I don't want to call them human beings, animals, Salvatore Segarra and Charles Janes, and they were responsible for is it Jeffrey Curley? I think that was his name. And
Andrew Curley? Curley is the last name.
Yeah, I think it's Jeffrey. And the chat will correct me. Yeah, Jeffrey Curley. Thank you. And put these animals behind bars. They were part of like NAMBLA and all this really disgusting activity. And in the way that they murdered this precious young boy, it was horrible. I don't even want to talk about it. It's so horrible. Yeah. But I hope that it feels that same victory. Putting awful people away and then just getting this victory for Karen. So we'll bunk out of that one there. But let's hear Karen's speech, and her dad's going to talk here. I love how Kristen Riggs, here they are, and she jumps out of the way. Watch this. Like,
I've never seen that. That's funny.
I think Christina Rex is like really pregnant right now too. So
yeah.
Here it comes. Look at that with the confetti and the camera. It's just so great. It's great.
Right here.
It's unbelievable. I have not seen all of this footage.
Oh, great. Look at she looks like a movie
I just
star.
want to
Looks
say
great.
2 things. Number 1 is I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team financially and, more importantly, emotionally for almost 4 years. And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have and my team. Thank you.
So you want to see it reopened? Karen, you want to see the case reopened? Should the case be reopened? No, the case cannot be reopened. This case is over. No, I mean, the case is searching for somebody else. What did you say? What did you say about justice? I'm going to leave it to Karen. Let her dad. Her dad has a comment. Let her dad make the comment. Mr. O'Keefe, what did you
Thank
say
you,
about justice?
Mr. Reed. I want to acknowledge the strength of our daughter Karen, the support of the entire Reed extended family. I want to acknowledge the greatest team of attorneys. Our first one that we found was David Yannetti. We added Alan Jackson and Liza Little. Bob Alessi, you know about. All right. It was a fantastic team, but we needed them all to defeat this. We thank everybody for their support from the heart. We love you all of the content providers who help spread the word. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
The investigation.
Let's do this. Let's get
Wow. Can I just make a quick comment here, Brian?
Yeah.
I know this is emotional, but I just want to let everyone know, anyone who's kind of thinking, oh, I wish they weren't cheering over Karen or her father, where I was standing, which was like right up against the barriers. I actually did not know that press conference was going on, because there was a big like Suburban right in front of me. So those microphones don't carry, those microphones feed into the media. So I don't think I was.
Yeah, it was not like there was loudspeakers out there and we could hear
right,
it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard a little bit of chatter about how there was like some disrespect shown, not in your chat, Brian, but not everyone appreciated that was going on there. And to be honest, I don't think anyone could contain themselves.
There's 3,000 people there. You're not going to contain it. I mean, it's just elation. It's elation. It's so funny. Like, I listened to Mr. Reed and it's like, that's what he should sound like. That Boston accent. I mean, it's so iconic.
Oh, yeah.
It's so iconic to me. I mean, it literally felt like a movie, you know, like kind of piecing all that together, seeing them walk out. It felt like the end of a movie. And I kept saying this, and I said this in like my speech down in Dedham the other day when I spoke in front of everybody. I said, it had to end this way. Like, this is the way that it was going to end. I knew in my heart of hearts, this was the way it was going to end. And I had been, I was preparing myself, and I did not prepare myself for like Karen to go to prison. I was like, no.
It's not
She's
gonna happen.
walking out of that courtroom acquitted, and it's going to be a huge celebration. And that's what it turned out to be. Todd, what do you
even with under verdict slip 2, the OUI charge, you and I, Brian, were talking about, the maximum sentence on that.
Yeah.
Again, to be fair, first time OUI, just like everyone else that comes to every other courthouse in the Commonwealth, fair is fair. Despite all the things wrapped around these charges, our first time OUI, we talked about this, as far as the videos in the interviews, not favorable for Karen, right? So we put that out there as well in fairness to the analysis part of this trial. But it was the right thing as far as the way Brennan handled it, the way Cannoni handled it, and it's time to move on for everybody. Time to move on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Want to hear from Juror 11? She's really the first one that was vocal and, really has been speaking out. She was on Aiden's channel the other day. I think it's about a 10-minute interview. I think it kind of circumvents everything that she's been talking about. And let's hear about this and get some reactions. Let me boost the sound here.
And how you guys came to this conclusion?
Yeah, sure. So it was a very intense week. We are at first for
Her
me,
name is Paula, by the way. I'm sorry. We keep just calling her Juror 11, but Paula, she's great.
for me, I thought Karen Reed was actually maybe guilty of manslaughter in the beginning, but as the weeks passed by, I just realized there were too many holes that we couldn't fill, and there's nothing that put her on the scene, in our opinion, besides just drop John McKeith off. And the tail light, the injuries in his arm didn't make much sense that come from the tail light for us. The last witness, Arca, from the defense, that made clear. They did a very good job, like showing us, explaining all the technicalities, I'm sorry, of everything. And yeah, we couldn't prove there was a collision and she was responsible for John's death.
Todd, they listened to the evidence, Todd.
She got it right. They all did.
Listen to the evidence. It wasn't anything else that was going to get in the way of that. And that's what they needed to sort through. Go ahead.
And they talked about some of the jurors. Again, we haven't heard from all of them.
Sure.
But they didn't come in with a hey, we think she's innocent. They, like Alessi, Jackson and Yannetti and Little, they earned that not guilty. So no one was in there to rub a stamp as far as the jury goes. No one's going to rub a stamp a not guilty on this. They earned it.
Yeah. They listened to the evidence, Nan. What do you think?
I was so pleased to hear all of her commentary. I've been kind of following her on Twitter now, and her interviews, and her interview last night with Aiden, which I heard this morning when I was running. And I thought she's insightful, and she has given she's given full transparency to the process, and then held some things close to the vest as well. But having lived in South America for 2 years in Chile, I can tell you, like, you're from South America, like, you don't hold back. Like, these are your opinions and you hold your own. And I give much respect to their culture and community for that. So she's holding her own with the antis who are coming at her, but also just the fact that every single answer she gives to the questions posed to her are so insightful. Everything, she really wasn't even mistaken on anything that was asked of her, except like one issue where she gave the wrong name of the wrong lab tech to Jess Machado, which was a very innocent oversight. Like, she Googled it to get the name right, and she picked the wrong name of the wrong witness. But I know the witness, I was there, the witness testified that she's talking about. And I remember this juror, and I kept looking at her. I shouldn't have been. I hopefully the court officers don't come at me. But I remember looking at her, and she was intently watching everything, every single thing. So I'm really proud of her, and I love learning how juries work. And she's not holding back at all. So I love it.
Yeah, they put the work in, and she put the work in, and she's been getting trashed pretty hard, and the not by any Karen Reed supporters, of course, but all the trolls have been coming after her, and it's just it doesn't surprise me. All right, let's play a little bit more here. If you're having a hard time hearing it, you need to turn up your volume because I have boosted just as loud as I can make it before it starts kind of muffling the speakers. So I would just urge everybody, turn up your volume a little bit if you have earpods in.
Is that why I'm not hearing her?
You're not hearing it at all?
No, I heard her very quietly, but it's okay.
Are you convinced she wasn't responsible for his death?
I am convinced. I'm 100% convinced. Yes, I really don't think she was responsible for his death. I think she dropped him off. If she back up fast enough to maybe touch him, maybe, but that was not the reason why he fell his back in a way that the way the cut was, the injury was, and the fracture was. I don't think that was from the car, because otherwise we would see much more injuries over his body.
So what do you think happened to him?
It's a theory, like conspiracy theory type of thing, because I think she maybe back up and touch him somehow. Maybe he lost his shoes in this movement and got upset, and then she left and she didn't saw him. And so either he got out of her way or something, and maybe he lost his shoes in this process. But in my opinion, he definitely went inside, and something happened inside the house.
Paul, are you getting?
It's interesting to hear that. Todd, what do you think of that? It's very interesting to hear that.
You know, it is interesting because there was so much evidence that they were not allowed to hear. And,
yeah,
you know, when we really listened to many of the prosecutor's witnesses, especially the civilian witnesses, the timelines just didn't make sense. The description of Karen being seen inside of her SUV in front of the house by herself with the interior dome light on, but no one sees John. It's the start of a nor'easter, a blizzard. He's not hanging out in the front lawn for his good health. So, there's more to the story, and unfortunately, the areas that would bring and reveal truth is it's been erased, it's been deleted. I'm talking about Ring doorbells, people not being interviewed. The areas that would highlight the truth was totally suppressed.
I want to go back to Alan Jackson's comment when they kept asking, the media was going, is the case going to be reopened? And he went, this case is closed. Kind of wonder if he's throwing that on, like just kind of throwing that out there and saying, well, all those people at 34 Fairview, you now can live with the burden of this, on you for the rest of your life. I kind of feel like that was like Jackson throwing that on them. Like, you're going to have this bad luck follow you around for the rest of your life. And it's going to be up to, whatever authority, if they want to continue to investigate, which in my opinion, I think that there's still some eyes on this. Let's be honest here. But I think that that's just him kind of throwing at them and saying, you know what? Screw you. Now now all of you can live with this, and you can sort it all out when you possibly get some doors knocked on. I'll throw it out there. Whoever wants to take it, if they agree or disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I have given some thought to this. So first, just so your audience does understand, like, she has been acquitted, and she was found guilty of the OUI charge. So this is a final judgment. It's not going to be appealed. It's not getting reopened. It's done. But then I gave a lot of thought to what Alan meant when he kind of said that very emphatically. And then I gave some thought to, I wonder, is it even better for there to be a true reckoning as to those who were culpable? Okay, so let's assume it was those in the house, the small set of those in the house who were personally responsible for this.
Right.
I don't know if it's even better from a karma standpoint that they face judgment and were to be convicted, which really could never happen now, because they will just point, if they were investigated and arrested and then defended in court, they'll just point the finger back at Karen, even though she was acquitted. But ultimately, they have to live their lives facing scrutiny. That's why in my opinion, they came out with this really terrible PR campaign.
We're going to play it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if that's even a little bit worse, that people will throw comments at them moving forward and people will buzz and whisper about them. I really don't know. I mean, I'd love to see them face the ultimate penalties for what has happened here, but that's never really successfully going to happen. Yeah. I don't know. I look at this and I say, they and Karen, all of their lives are never going to be the same. Never. Even Karen, it's just, and Karen's family, it's never going to be the same.
It's a good question from Lauren here. She says, are they required to reopen the case, or is the Commonwealth just going to double down that it's Karen and she's guilty and the jurors were wrong?
They're not required, to reopen the case. There's no requirement. That would be a decision to be made by the district attorney. And he doesn't strike me as someone who values or embraces the beauty of changing one's mind. But the public wind has been blowing at him on this issue since 2023. Especially 2023, when Aiden kind of shed light on this case. And that's when the hostage video came out, and he's doubled down. Excuse me, I got the grammar wrong on that. And then once there was the mistrial, he doubled down again. So it's very frustrating, but no, they're not going to reopen this unless there is new evidence that is so clear and convincing to really change hearts and minds here. However, the feds look at this from a different lens. The feds look at things, yes, is it the murder of a law enforcement officer, which arguably does fall under federal jurisdiction? Yes. But the feds look at things like the conspiracy and the corruption, all of the different elements of that, the perjury charges that could come for lying to federal investigators. And I'm not losing faith on that. I'm just not.
Yeah. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, I agree, Nan. There's more to this case, but I think the more is going to come from the federal level of government. There's just too much there. We can wrap it up in a conspiracy because nothing's been proven, but there's some strong, tangible evidence that if it's pursued, could shed a different story.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go back to the juror.
Yeah.
Getting emotional. What was going through your heart and mind after making that, tremendous decision?
Yeah, so I was happy for Karen Reed and her family. Of course, I think justice was served, but see John McGhee's family leaving the courthouse was melt my heart. I'm a mother, and I saw her pain through all those days. And I just want to tell them it's not our fault that Karen Reed is not convicted, even if there's any chance she's guilty of something, of hurt him somehow. The Commonwealth and the investigators didn't do their jobs to prove that to us. So we couldn't charge her with anything.
Again, Todd, listening to that evidence, listening to the evidence.
And I really, really hope there is a way for the case to be reopened and they can investigate again and find who actually did that to John.
Wow.
Emotional.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Was because I was sad for the family, because I feel like great for Karen Reed, but horrible for the family. He seemed to be a very nice guy, the story with his nephews and niece, and was alive. So I feel bad for them.
I just have to acknowledge some. Michelle, hi. It's been so long. I hope you're well. I hope you're so well. And it's nice to see you in the chat. It's been quite a while. And she said, lack there of evidence. Yes. Yes.
And I really want them to get
Nice
justice
to
for
see
John
you.
McGhee for real.
Was it a poor investigation?
In my opinion, yes.
Ooh.
Too many flaws, too many holes that we couldn't fill in. No reports, so many things, videos with glitch. I don't know, felt a little not correct, not precise. I mean, they are police officers; they know what to do in investigation, and with too many pieces were missing.
Well, you said you were.
Wow. What a smart juror. What a smart juror.
She's trained in her former country. She was either an attorney or she's got a
she's a lawyer. Yeah.
Juris Doctorate, yeah.
Yeah. And she actually said she was very excited to get onto this, and she wanted to be on it to see how the US processes is, trying cases. So she was really, really excited to get on. And I mean, a smart juror, Todd. She listened to the evidence.
Yeah, they got it right.
She listened to the evidence.
First, thinking manslaughter in the beginning. What changed your mind to not guilty?
The process, as they show us that things don't connect to each other. The injury don't connect with the taillight. The glitch on the video of the sail port.
Wow.
The missing part of the video of the ring light in John O'Keefe's house was too many coincidences to be.
Wow.
Straight her fault.
So the first trial, the jurors were deadlocked. They couldn't come up with a decision. Were you surprised that they brought this case again for a second time? That they prosecuted her for a second time?
No, not surprised, because I have a law background from Brazil. I study law. I worked a little bit as an attorney before I moved here, so I understand a little bit the system. I'm not surprised she was charged again. And we definitely didn't want to hang this jury. We were very positive that we're going to discuss everything as much as we can, because we don't want to. The amount of money spent in this trial made me very upset, and I'm sure made my fellow jurors upset too.
Do you think
I love this insight.
Yeah.
Hard to say. I didn't have a chance to look into the investigation outside the courtroom and everything that was said in the last trial.
Sure she has now.
Less than 24 hours I started looking into those things. So I can't say she was framed, but maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Did you find it strange you didn't hear from the lead investigator Michael Proctor?
No, I didn't find strange not hear from him, but I found strange not hear from Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, because the owner of the house is the
Interesting.
person who exchanged text messages with Karen Reed a few weeks after, a few days before John gave that. So I think was weird not hear from them.
I find
Oh,
it weird that the DA hasn't said anything at all about the case or the verdict. I mean, all he said was the jury has spoken, which you guys did, but nothing else.
I was surprised that they wanted the sentence right away. I'm not sure if they're gonna appeal, what's gonna happen. I didn't have time to see what happened today through the day because I was out with my family. But I don't know, maybe they're just gonna give up and reopen the investigation.
At the beginning of deliberations, did some people think she was guilty?
At the beginning of deliberation, I don't know. We decided not to vote, not to say what we really think, and instead go through witnesses and.
so they didn't do a straw vote at first, is what she's saying.
Well, that's because she said in another interview the judge told them not to.
Not to.
That's ridiculous. I've never seen that happen.
Why would you order the jury to do?
I've gotten verdicts in under 30 minutes because of a straw poll. I don't understand why the judge wanted that. I mean, when I heard that, I immediately went to, oh my God, like, I wonder if there was a plant on this jury and someone kind of put into it to try.
Right.
But, you know, I try not to buy into those conspiracy theories. But also, and I understand the questions being posed to her by reporters, but at the same time, it is not this jury's responsibility, and it never was, to investigate what happened and to figure it out. They just had to decide if it was proven or not. So she's getting a lot of questions about, you know, well, what do you think happened? And would you have wanted to hear from this person? And that person would have changed your mind. They just had to look at what was put on their table. Did it amount to murder or manslaughter? And it didn't. I love that she is very compartmentalized with that.
Yeah. And just to kind of define what a straw vote is, it's basically when you go in the room and you just take a quick vote and you go, where are we at? And you kind of see the sides, and then you start kind of listening to everybody and feeling what their side is, and then start weighing and working through the evidence. Lauren DC in the chat says, nice award behind you, Todd. She can see it.
Mine is behind me too. Mine. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Thank
All right,
you
let's
so
go back
much
to
for that.
juror. We'll finish this one up, and then we'll go on to we're going to play a little bit because I don't have the full interview, but Trooper Michael Proctor. I'm sorry, former. That's my mistake. Former. Oh God, I'm going to kill in the chat right now. Former.
Disgraced.
Michael Proctor.
I think it's just, you need to include disgraced as well.
Yes. And then we're gonna play the McAlbert's interview. We'll go through that and get some reaction, and then finish up with Hank Brennan's statement today. Here we go.
The videos and the paper,
here.
the clothes and everything. So I'm not sure what they thought. But when we got an agreement of what charges we would eliminate it one by one, and then we got to the verdict.
Was it hard to focus, or, you know, with the pressure of the big crowds outside every day chanting? Like, how much pressure was that for you guys?
I didn't see people outside until, I think Monday, because the way the bus brings us to the back of the courthouse, only if you look to your right and you see maybe some pink shirts or something, but I didn't know it was that big crowd like yesterday. And we couldn't hear anything. They covered the room so we couldn't see through the window. And through the whole process, I didn't hear anything inside the courtroom. None of us did.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like this wasn't that difficult for you guys to reach consensus here. Was it difficult to reach this decision, or not really?
Well, I can't speak for myself. For me, it wasn't. For me, I had my opinion formed before we get in there. So we, some people might thought differently. So we had some discussions, of course, but I can't talk for other people.
But it wasn't like, it doesn't sound like it was very heated. And were people fighting, or was it?
No, No, there wasn't fight. We are a respectful group of people. We got along very well.
Real quick, got a question from Lauren DC. Lauren's got all the questions tonight. I love this. She says, is it possible to file a complaint to investigate a judge's conduct? Go ahead, Nan. You're going to be able to take this one.
I have to be a little circumspect in how I answer that, just because I'm an officer of the court, Lauren. But there is a process if anyone wants to investigate and or complain about the conduct of a judge. It's as simple as Googling the state and putting that question in the search engine, and it'll pop up. I can't direct people to do it, but that's what I would do if I was doing it. And I see Scott's name popped up. Hey, Scott, it was great to see you.
It was
great to see you last week. I'm going to be up next week. I want to get eyes on you, my friend.
So prayers to God, put a proper jury in place in order to thwart the corruption is my belief. That's pretty good. Thank you, Todd. And by the way, Gary, thank you so much for the $10 Cash App. I appreciate that. I don't want to. All right, let's finish up the juror, and then we'll go to Michael Proctor, and then we'll hear the McAlberts, their reaction.
And we listen to each other's opinion. I can't say much what happened inside the deliberation room. It's the judge told us not to talk about it, but of course there were discussions of our opinions and the proofs, and let's look into this, look into that until we got to a consensus. But nothing heated. No.
Did you make much of her the videos that were played of her saying,
"Oh, this is interesting. Great question."
They clipped him. Her almost admitting that, well, maybe something happened.
Yeah, that's where I take my theory from. Since like she woke up thinking, oh, maybe I hit him. So this idea comes from somewhere in her mind, right? So maybe when she back up, she hit something, the curb or him or something. I don't know. But definitely his injuries are not consistent with the tail light damage. We do not believe the tail light. The way that was presented in the Sally Port on that day, it's not the same way that we saw in the videos of the car coming out of the meadows in the morning. I don't think the car killed John O'Keefe. No.
At what point?
Ooh, that's pretty compelling. That's pretty compelling stuff.
She's not holding.
We don't believe the taillight matched what it looked like when it came out of one Meadows inside Sally Port in coming out and matching that up. That doesn't add up in our mind. That's pretty compelling stuff.
They didn't miss a beat. Again, they paid attention, copious notes. They listened to what was presented to them, even though it was diminished, if I could use a word.
Yeah.
But again, what they had to work with, they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I mean it tracks with what everyone on this side was saying. So it's always a crapshoot when you pick a jury. What is the mixture going to be? And I don't know how it went down in the deliberation room, but Paula strikes me as a type A. Was she being authoritative during the discussions? She has given some comments on the foreperson as well, who never took any notes, but he was listening intently. I can't wait to hear more. Yeah. Hopefully they will all or many of them will come forward and explain the process.
So Michelle's asking, have we seen Hank's statement in his release? We're going to actually talk about that towards the end of the show. Todd's going to wrap up in about 10 or 15 minutes. Nan, you mind could you finish out with me tonight or?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, great. Yeah. Let's do this. Let's just pop off because we have heard a lot from the jury. I want to get a reaction from Todd before he goes about Michael Proctor. We'll play this portion of the interview. Let's go. Matt Gutman. And now it comes to find out the reason Matt Gutman was down there on Wednesday morning and he bopped out so early, he went out and did all these interviews with them. That's what he was doing down there because I remember that is the suit jacket and the suit he was wearing that day down there.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. So he was down there to interview them and give them their damn story. And I'm disappointed. He platformed these people. It's just crazy.
At what point did you develop such strong negative feelings about Karen Reed that you would say things like, hopefully she kills herself, or calling her the C word?
Those feelings developed as the case went on.
I mean, can you see how people might think, he was caught in this instance speaking about a suspect in this way. Maybe it's happened in other cases as well.
I 100% think that. But when you have, a fellow police officer around my age, 2 kids of his own, it generates an emotion. And I expressed those emotions in a negative way, which I shouldn't have. I shouldn't even been texting my friends anything. They are what they are. They don't define me as a person. They're regrettable.
I just want to hear from Todd. I just want to hear from Todd on this.
As a former state trooper.
Yeah, I get it. You've got a Boston police officer who was found dead. It doesn't matter. You remain a professional. Period. Full stop. It doesn't matter. One of your someone in the chat had picked up on Proctor made a statement in this interview. Would he conduct the investigation any different? And he started to go down the path. Well, maybe I could have interviewed somebody sooner. Maybe evidence. And then he completely backed off that thought pattern and said, no, I wouldn't change a thing. So again, to do it all over again, you jeopardize your career based on your misconduct, based on your biased policing. That's what that statement says to me.
Todd, is this for training in his process of becoming an officer, or is this just something that, I have the power, I have the badge, I've gotten away with so much in my career, I'm going to continue this process? How do you see this?
There's a power dynamic at play, Brian, for sure. You're bringing the evidence to convict who you believe, or I say that tongue in cheek, who you believe is guilty. And, with that also comes some arrogance, as we saw play out in the trial, not just from Proctor, but from others from the state police. So, there's that sense of, if you, again, follow the facts, we most likely have a different outcome, and Karen Read would have never been convicted of these, have never been charged these crimes.
With the result of the verdict, could this open up investigations, internal and fair investigations into Tully or Buchanan?
I would say no. I think there was enough information after 1.0 that if there was going to be anything internally, a lot of the focus, as we know, was on Proctor. Some of the other disciplinary actions were relatively minor compared to Proctor's termination, suspension, then termination. So those are, those I think are the internal mechanics that would have played out already.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a real shame. Go ahead, Nan, you gonna jump in?
I was just going to say I love the fact that Proctor is giving these answers, which are total BS to me, but he's giving these answers and all they do is validate what the finders, I forget the name of the entity that terminated him, Todd, the agency that terminated him, but it validates their decision. Who was that?
Yeah, the trial board, their decision would be forwarded to the colonel for the final decision.
Right, thank you. The trial board, one of the reasons that they terminated him, and which is a form of discipline for the audience, that was partially because of his bias. So he's validating it. So for anyone who and I've handled these types of matters, not many times, but a few times in the past, many years ago, for anyone who thinks like his appeal is going to be successful, not a chance. He is now on camera. I don't even know what he said under oath before them, but he's now on camera during an interview saying, yeah, these feelings developed over time, and I felt these things, and I shouldn't have said them. They're regrettable. He validated the bias that he was feeling. I think it went well beyond bias. I think that there was much more to it than that. But his appeal is not going to be successful. No.
Nan, we to piggyback on that, we talked about, again, so many of the interviews were not favorable for Karen, the way Brennan had showcased them in the trial. Well, the same applies to Michael Proctor. Stay out of the media.
That's right. That's right. And honestly, it's the same will parlay into what the McAlberts say during their interviews, which you may not be on the line for. Sometimes it's best not to go to the media. You know?
It's interesting and I'm just thinking about all this because we're playing clips and we're hearing from everybody, and we're now hearing from Proctor. To go back to what they were asking Paula, they said, the clips that they played of Karen, did those hold any weight? And she said no. And I thought, and I think we all thought that kind of all along, like, I don't think this is going to sway anything. And I mean, honestly, I got to say this. As a Commonwealth tactic, it was really a great tactic because they started using Karen. They knew she was never going to testimony, but they're going to try to turn this into like if she's testifying and try to show the jury in these little segments of things that she was saying. But in the end of the day, it didn't hold any weight, at least to that juror. I mean, she was like, it didn't really hold any weight. It didn't affect me. So
there was an interesting perspective. I can't recall if it was one of the jurors, but it was almost that sense of Karen trying to steer the narrative, off the rocks and into kind of, clear ocean, and to just give her the best possible opportunity for her defense, without having to testify, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that I would use the words tone deaf to describe those clips.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that overall the jury did not buy into them. I'm sure some considered them, and I would imagine at least one of those clips is what ended up convicting her of OUI because she made some admissions against interest. Right. But what I will say about the clips, besides being tone deaf, is they set a really bad precedent in your Commonwealth there. Like you now, if you give statements to the media, the prosecution can and will use them against you in a very edited form. So I don't love that. I understand how that was ruled upon in the way it was by the judge. I mean, these are not hearsay. These are admissions of a party defendant, but they were curated and edited and clipped. And, I would encourage anyone, if you've been arrested for anything, don't talk to the media.
Yeah, just use your right. Remain silent. Remain silent. Todd, do you have to pop? Do you have to pop off?
I got a few more minutes.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll play through some of the Alberts and maybe get a quick reaction from you. Again, I want to thank my guest here for joining on this Monday night wind up. It's kind of like a wind down, but attorney Nan Gallagher here hanging out with us. Everybody knows that beautiful face. And then we have retired Mass State Police Todd McGhee. Please make sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you can. And Michelle says the more we hear from the McAlberts and Proctors, makes them look more ridiculous. And I completely agree. All right, let's play a little more of the portion of the 2020 interview with Matt Gutless. And we'll play the McAlberts here. They all look alike. It's just so funny. Like they all look alike.
The criminal justice system has let us down at every turn. And yesterday was the final letdown. And that's why.
No, you were the letdown, sir. You were the letdown.
Starts with you.
Why didn't you go outside? Why didn't you go outside? Yeah, you're going to blame it on the media now and the criminal justice system. All right, here we go.
We're here because there's nobody left to stand up for us.
Think real long and hard before you're a witness in a case because no one protects you. And it's very, very sad.
For the first time, some of the key players in the Karen Read trial sitting down for an exclusive interview. His friend, Jennifer McCabe, and her husband, Matt, former Boston Police Sergeant Brian Albert, and his wife, Nicole, and his brother, Chris Albert. All five of them pulled into the center of this high-profile case and now speaking out.
Their faces look stressed. You think, Nan? You got a little stressed on their faces?
I've got so many comments. Do you want to wind Todd? I don't want to keep you, but can Brian just wind me up for a minute and let me roll?
Go for it.
All right, here it is. No, wait. Can you put them back on the screen? I need to see them. All right. Here it is. First, their publicists all told them to wear neutral shades or shades of blue down to Chris Albert's sneakers. They got the blue memo. Second, they all are wearing their stress on their faces and their figures. And I speak from personal experience, having lost 170 pounds. They might want to take some running tips from me. As far as Nicole Albert is concerned, by the way, these are the opinions of Nan Gallagher, not of the show. As far as Nicole Albert is concerned, I am vibing what I've seen on X. She does look like Lieutenant Gallagher with a wig. Also, as far as she's concerned, you don't think long and hard about being a witness. You were subpoenaed. You are a fact witness. You can't give it any thought. You got to come if you're called to court and give testimony. So it's not a choice. And then lastly, you didn't get to it yet, but the fact that Brian Albert is going to say that, you know, he didn't come out because he's a Boston cop and not a Canton cop, which I cannot wait to get Todd's feedback on that, is ridiculous. And the thought of him even coming out in his underwear makes me sick to my stomach. So those are my thoughts. I'm going to remain silent and let Todd watch and give his commentary before he leaves us.
All right, real quick, Shamwell, thanks for the 5. Says, Brian, please give an extra big shout out to Mark Randazza. Without him, it would be all crickets in front of that court. This ending was perfect for everyone. I completely agree, and thank you so much for that chat. Here we go.
And I think the reason we all stayed quiet is because we were just witnesses. This is a thing that we had nothing to do with.
We did the civic duty, came and told the truth, and that's it.
Free Karen Read! It's the case that has captivated the country and divided a town. Karen Read, accused of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, hitting him with her SUV and leaving him to die in a blizzard.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Now, after a second trial, a jury acquitting her of the most serious charges, second-degree murder and manslaughter. And hundreds of supporters in pink, Karen Read's favorite color, cheering as the verdict came down yesterday.
I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters.
People turned this thing into a tailgate party, it looked like, some days. Board games, cornhole, cookouts. This is a guy that was murdered. And it's atrocious for that family.
While the prosecutors blamed Read for O'Keefe's death, the defense said this group of family members framed Read to cover up what really happened that night. Ever since, their lives becoming open season for endless conspiracy theories.
What they've done is they've dehumanized us to the sense where we're not real people. We're almost like caricatures. We're pawns.
Have each of you been called murderers? Like actual murderers?
Oh, yeah, on a daily basis.
Anybody who's touched this case has been called a murderer at some point.
And anyone who's friends with us support cop killers.
After 3+ years, the saga wrapped up yesterday. Read captured celebrating at dinner with her father, and today seen walking with her attorney, Alan Jackson.
I didn't even know I'd be here today, so I had no plans.
Meanwhile, O'Keefe's family and friends struggling with
That's
the
what
verdict.
we want.
I'm just sad for John's family and what happened yesterday, and I feel like they didn't get justice for him, and our lives just changed forever.
Why speak out now after the verdict?
We took what we thought was the high road. Let the court do its job.
After a night of hanging out at a local bar in a brutal 2022 blizzard, Brian and his wife, possibly involving other
I'm just going to speed up because we know the case. I just want to hear their comments.
members of law enforcement.
Did John ever come in the house?
Never. No.
You never saw John O'Keefe in the house, right?
Never.
Never.
These are people in your own community who believe the conspiracy theories, who believe that there were other law enforcement officials and agents involved in this. Why is it people in your own community who believe these conspiracy theories?
You do realize for this conspiracy to be true, it would take 30 to 50 people. You'd have to have multiple cops on 2 different police departments, multiple civilians, the medical examiner, firemen, EMTs, you name it. That's how preposterous and silly this is. And great question. I don't understand how people bought this.
Brian Albert says he and Nicole only found out about John's death when Jen McCabe, who is Nicole's sister, barged into their bedroom.
She was just upset, and I immediately thought something had happened to one of her children or one of my children, because why else is she in my bedroom at 6:30 in the morning right now?
And what did she tell you?
She said, John's out front. I think John's dead out front. I said, what the are you talking about, Jen? And I'm like, who? I didn't know.
You still didn't piece it
I
together.
didn't understand what she was talking about because why would John be out front of my house?
So massively confusing. There are police officers, EMTs on your front lawn. You're an officer. Why don't you just go outside and investigate or take a look?
I'm not a Canton police officer. I'm a Boston police officer.
Oh.
I was just woken up out of a cold sleep from hanging out the night before. By the time I came downstairs, the police were already in my house. John was already gone. There was
No
nobody
way.
to save. I would have taken a bullet for John O'Keefe because he was a fellow cop. That's the most ridiculous question that people always ask. It makes zero sense. What am I supposed to do? Run out front
Yes.
of my underwear and start running yellow tape around
Yes.
around the fire hydrant?
Over the course.
All right, I'm going to pause. I want Todd to comment before he's going to pop off. Todd.
The question that was asked was John O'Keefe ever in the house, and he emphatically denied, and then he cut his eyes.
Nope.
He cut his
Yeah.
eyes. So there's some deception right there. There's more
Are you
to that.
trained for that, Todd? Like, I'm not doubting your credentials, but do they teach you in your training to look for tells like that?
I've actually created curriculum for detection for counterterrorism efforts.
Wow.
That looks for deception, and it looks for things like eye gate, blink rate, hands, nervous tells, leakage from the body based on the nerves. Yeah.
Wow.
Thank God there was no leakage from his body during that interview.
You think also statement analysis, right? You once you get past the physical physiology of stress and how stress shows up and leaks out of the body, then you can break it down even with statement analysis.
Interesting.
So Lauren's asking, what does cutting his eyes mean?
Cutting. So if I'm emphatically denying something, I'm going to be front of the line to you, culturally speaking, full eye contact, and I'm not going to break that eye contact because I'm so convicted with my belief. At the end, as he was finishing his head wag, he cut his eyes. He cut his eyes down below. Now, some people go into, well, if you look down to the right or up to the left, it means something to the creative part of your brain or the recall part of your brain. The point is that he cut his eyes. That's a tell.
Interesting.
Wow, we might have to dig in a little bit more of this on a future show, sir.
Yes, we can do that. A good place to start is in the jury room.
Yeah.
In the on the stand, rather. Sorry.
But I also think it would be interesting to see what Todd's thoughts will be on looking at Proctor, and even more about these little interviews. But the only comment I would make here, and I know Todd has to go, is as far as Brian Albert is concerned, for someone who feels so passionately, I'd take a bullet for John O'Keefe. But you didn't come outside. Okay. And you think by the time I came downstairs, they were gone, which I doubt. I do think they wrapped things up too quickly, but they were still there. But also for someone who is as passionate as he seems to be, I'm a little surprised, or maybe not surprised, that Brennan did not call him as a witness. I mean, he feels so passionately about it. It sounds like he's got a lot to say. Wouldn't it have been great for the O'Keefe family, for Brian Albert to kind of force his way into the testimony of trial 2.0? But no, wasn't called.
Another observation: who's doing all the speaking, or most of it?
Yeah,
Brian.
And even before we let Todd go, even the creepier thing he says, I woke up out of a cold sleep.
Yeah,
That
I
is
know.
just creepy that he said that.
I agree.
I want to thank my guest this evening, retired Mass State Police Todd McGhee. We will see you again, my friend, I'm pretty sure. Enjoy the rest of your night, and thanks for jumping up on panel with us.
Thanks, guys. Good night, chat. Good to see you, Nan.
I'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Take
Take care,
care.
guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
the cold. I came up out of a cold sleep. That is eerie.
Yeah, cold sleep. And, it's not only eerie, but juxtapose that against John O'Keefe's final hours. You know what I mean?
It's
like
just eerie.
this is the kind of stuff that I think about in the early morning hours, and they sink in, and he's also, as Todd was saying, and I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
He's the ringleader. I mean, he's in the middle. They're all looking to him. They're all looking to him for validation in the answers they give. This is a failed PR stunt here. They should just stay quiet.
All right, let's play left.
First of the night, Reed called and texted John 52 times. She then called Jen asking for help to find John. Karen previously telling me she and John had gotten into an argument that night.
Would you say that you were angry with John that night?
Yes.
Could you have been angry enough and slightly drunk because he had annoyed you that in the fit of rage you just backed up and
Never.
tried to tap him?
Would
No,
never
not to try to kill him, but try to...
to tap him with my 6,000-pound full-size SUV, to hit John's body with my
Offense.
car. No.
I spoke with a juror tonight who told me she believes a collision did not occur.
Overall, a lot of the evidence had caused reasonable doubt, and that was enough for us not to convict.
A little after 6 a.m., Karen found John's body in the snow. Jen called 911.
911, what's emergency? There's a man passed out in the snow.
Hello? But what raised eyebrows at Reed's trial was a defense theory about a Google search Jen had made about how long it takes to die in the cold. The defense claiming she searched it before O'Keefe's body was found.
So much has been made about that Google search that morning. Was it at 6 a.m. or was it at 6:27 a.m.? How long to die in the cold? What's your answer?
She asked me to do it at outside of Fairview at 6:20, whatever it was.
Why is she looking at everybody else?
Right.
Why is she looking over for the answer?
Yep.
They're all aligned. I mean, Nan, they're all aligned with each other. They've got this down.
They got it down. I'm sick to my stomach listening to this.
Why are you looking at them? You're not looking at him. You're looking at them to say, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna flip here."
And even the things like she's got may I use profanity, Brian?
Yeah, we're late in the evening here. Go.
She's got what my mom used to refer to as a shit-eaten grin on her face. Right? So she's got this shit-eaten grin on her face, and she's like, she asked me to search for it at 6:20 or whatever time it was. Like the casual nature of what she's saying. If she were telling the truth and I were her, I would be saying, she asked me to Google whatever, hypothermia, whatever the words were. She asked me to Google these things at 6:23 in the morning. Like, you have to believe me. But she's sitting there, just this laissez-faire attitude, and it does not read well. I hope this is my personal opinion, and you guys can come for me, McAlberts. I wait for the day. If you try to sue me, I'm getting all the discovery. So come for me. But I am hoping that they suffer moving forward just from the public aspersions that are cast upon them. Yeah. And the fact that they tried to twist this narrative against Karen, her family, all the supporters. Brian Albert called it a cookout. Like, look, I did not stand days and days and days of my life with these people.
Eating hot dogs.
But where were any of them? Where were any of the blue people? Where were these people? These are people who sat back. Even I made I guess one would call it the mistake, although I found it extremely entertaining, of looking at Plevin's rolling of the verdict today. And I was like, let me watch this for a minute. And you know what? They're sitting in their little live stream on StreamYard watching the verdict roll in. And then you could hear crickets chirping when it did come in, and suddenly it's jury tampering, etc. Where were all of them? Where were the McCabe's and the Alberts when that verdict came in? Nowhere. So if these people want to share food or share experiences or hug each other, have cookouts, they care. You know what I mean? Like, I get really, really mad about this kind of stuff. I hope they suffer for this.
It's because we cared and we made this a communal grassroots movement. I said that on Sunday in my speech. I said it's a grassroots movement, and maybe we can play that at the end. I don't know if you've seen it, but we'll play that. And That's what this is. You know, this was a grassroots movement because we care about our fucking community and we don't want people coming in and fucking killing people and getting away with it. And, you know, it makes me absolutely sick to my fucking stomach that someone that was a first responder that knows better in this position says, oh, what was I supposed to do? Get up and run out in my underwear? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry. If I have someone that runs in my bedroom in the middle of the night, I'm jumping up. And if it is someone that was just there at a party and I saw them, even if I just saw them at a fucking bar a few hours before that and said, John is dead out on the lawn or whoever it is, I'm running out there and going, what's wrong?
And by the way,
to jump in, Nan.
Isn't everybody like now that Todd left, now that Todd had to go and I asked for permission to use profanity and now we're rolling. But also think about the fact that you know, we're looking at Brian Albert saying all this stuff and he didn't get up out of bed. None of them did anything. And that Matt Gutman is his name.
Yeah.
You know what he didn't ask them at that moment? Where was your dog?
Yeah.
What was your dog doing when Jen busted into your room, right? How did the dog react? That question didn't get asked or answered. So I could go on all night.
Oh, yeah.
Shake it off.
Thanks for the 20. He says, because you're all worth the follow. Thank you. Sham Wild from Canada. Thank you. Says, is this real life or is it fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Open your eyes, look and see the sky. See, the story has changed my life. We are the champions. Karen Reed is free. That's so great. Maybe I'll try to sing it next time. You don't want to hear my singing. Well, actually, Lauren heard my singing in the car the other day.
Did she? And she lived to tell about it?
She could comment. Here we go.
Doesn't matter how much I say about it, people will not believe it.
The group also hoping to clear up rumors regarding
where are you, Chloe?
Albert's dog, Chloe, who had
what a beautiful dog, right? And they totally killed that dog. Totally killed that dog.
Rehomed after
Sorry to
the
laugh.
incident. The defense claimed the dog was involved in O'Keefe's death.
Those wounds were inflicted as the result of a dog attack. Those marks are from teeth.
They've known for 2 years where Chloe is. The state shared it with them.
So if they wanted to take DNA evidence from Chloe the dog and match it to possible DNA evidence on John O'Keefe, they could have matched.
Absolutely.
But now with the trial behind them, they say they're still faced with threats against them and their families, but hope to continue calling this community their home.
You get down, you get depressed, and it's like, but this is the town we like grew up in. Like we didn't do anything wrong. We all contributed to our town. We love our town. Why should we have to go anywhere?
It's that whole towny mentality. Like, I live here. You should have just supported me in all of this.
Oh yeah,
that's the attitude.
And I say this as an outsider, but it's my understanding that Brian Albert and Nicole left. They're in like Maine now, if I heard correctly. So they left the community. B, Chris Albert, you know, in my opinion, your days are numbered as a Canton Select Board member. And as much as you love that community, I think personally you love that community because you boss it around. And guess what? The tide is turning. You will not be reelected for that position. And I'm going to play that clip back when you leave, because you will leave the Canton Select Board. You will leave the community because you will be shunned and an outcast. And you will never, none of those McAlberts will ever be able to shake the shadow of doubt as to their intentions and their conduct on the night of January 29th, 2022. So as much as you embrace that community, I have a feeling you'll all be gone in short order.
Yeah. And Michelle's reporting, yes, they bought a house way up in Maine.
Yeah.
Way up in Maine. Isn't that funny? All the cockroaches are scattering now. You notice that?
Yeah.
All the cockroaches scattering. All right. Hank Brennan made a statement today, Nan. Let's
wind me up.
Pull up the article here and see what Hanky Poo had to say.
Can't wait.
So let's see. Karen Reed, special prosecutor Hank Brennan breaks silence on verdict. Quote.
Clear your throat for their bullshit, Brian.
I'm really disappointed in the verdict and the fact that we could not achieve justice for John O'Keefe and his family.
Brennan said, following back Reed's murder. So it says, speaking out for the first time following Karen Reed's acquittal on the murder and manslaughter charges last week, Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan expressed his disappointment in the verdict in railing against the campaign of intimidation and abuse surrounding the high-profile case. While Reed's lawyers were quick to share their thoughts on the verdict, in the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office has remained remarkably mum since the jurors found Reed not guilty of all major charges in the January 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. The jury has spoken. Oh, wait, the jury has spoken. I guess this is supposed to be Michael Morsi told the local news outlets in his efforts faced heightened scrutiny of over unsuccessful prosecution after 3 years and 2 trials, several jurors' testimony, and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Jurors in the Reed's retrial only convicted her of a drunk driving. And then, of course, we had the quote from Brennan. And it goes on to say, a veteran criminal defense attorney, a former prosecutor who shot to national prominence representing the late gangster James Whitey Bulger, Brennan signed off last fall to lead prosecutors in the Reed trial. Yada, yada, yada. Says District Attorney Michael Morsi's appointed me to give me full District Attorney Michael Morsi appointed me to give me full discretion to independently ask. It's not coming out that good tonight, Nan. Assess the case and follow the evidence no matter where it led, Brennan explained. After an independent thorough review of the evidence, I only concluded that the evidence led to the person and only one person. Prosecutors alleged Reed. We know the backstory. However, Brennan said neither the independent review nor the now closed federal probe. Oh, I love that, how he sneaks that one in. Led me to identify any possible suspects or persons responsible for the death of John O'Keefe. The case ignited a media firestorm as true crime fanatics and online sleuths adopted the defense narrative and turned the spotlight on certain witnesses. That's a disgusting statement.
Agreed.
Turtle Boy blogger, who's a journalist, Aidan Carney, the de facto face of the Free Karen Reed movement and one of Reed's most vocal advocates, was even charged with witness intimidation in connection to the coverage of this case. The campaign of the intimidation and abuse that has been waged, funded, and promoted in the public on social media is the antithesis of justice, Brennan asserted, warning of the precedent, quote, if this type of conduct becomes the commonplace, it will threaten the integrity of our judicial system, affecting both the victims and criminally accused. He added, we cannot condone witness abuse causing participants to worry for their own safety or that of families. The quote, harassment of these innocent victims and family members is deplorable and should never have happened again in a case in the Commonwealth. And he goes on to say, my heartfelt condolences to the O'Keefe family and faith that the overcoming years, they will find peace and closure, Brennan offered. Let's see. That's his statement. Any reaction? Go ahead,
man. Oh, my
Nan.
God. Yeah. Well, first off, I have a question, which is that Boston.com, which it looks like it was published there, from what you were reading from. Where does that land in terms of its audience? Maybe your chat knows, but like, do they tend to be more conservative? Do they tend to be more liberal? That seemed like that was a hit piece on Karen Reed. It did not seem fair and balanced.
Right here, all about shade says talk about being tone deaf.
Yeah, that was totally tone deaf.
Yeah.
And I think I saw Aiden's comment on it, which was like he spent a sentence or two on John O'Keefe and then spent the rest of his quotes on how witnesses were being intimidated. Yeah. And, he was clearly pushing an agenda, which is making me think a few things. One, Aiden's still in the hot seat for witness intimidation. And I would encourage, at least this is my personal opinion, I think you share it, Brian, like I would encourage anyone to consider focusing some attention on Aiden's matters that are pending as they relate to witness intimidation, because that's just Karen's acquittal does not make the charges against Aiden go away. I also think this was a very tone deaf article or quotes, because Brennan, he didn't even give any credit to Lally or McLaughlin. Like he basically said, I was hired and given all of the discretion in the world to handle this prosecution. And he puts in that there was the closed federal probe, which I don't believe. And honestly, the feds were not looking, in my opinion, they were not looking at who killed Officer John O'Keefe. That's not what they are looking at, are in the present tense. So this was just an opportunity to self-aggrandize, pat himself on the back, and distract. You know what I mean? He's just getting everyone to look the other way and focus on witness intimidation. Either way, it didn't land.
Yeah, I find it funny that it said that this was the smear campaign on the O'Keefe side was fully funded. I didn't get a paycheck. Like, who's funding me?
Oh, did I not pay you for that? Do I owe you a check?
Is he saying the Reeds were paying us? They weren't paying me a fucking dime. If anything, I went there with envelopes and handed envelopes of cash to Karen every time I ran into her. Every single time I was in and around Karen, I brought an envelope of cash to her to help fight back and hand that to her and say, the going joke with me and her was, in the Ted Daniel interview, she said I had to go to the cobbler and fix my shoes. And every time I would hand her an envelope, it'd say, here, go fix your shoes.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the running joke and all of that. But I think it's funny to say this was fully funded, but yet, he would never talk about the mainstream media writing these articles out there with their cameras. That's okay. Court TV, their clicks and views and all these, nightly news stories for views and advertising. So I always laugh when all these people go, oh, you guys are grifters. You guys are out there and you're taking less money. Hey, I'm transparent. I get fucking paid by Google. That's where I make my money. I make my money from Google and my subscribers that might contribute a Venmo or a Cash App or a PayPal. It's no different than the spots that you see during a nightly news broadcast of, buy fucking Colgate toothpaste. I mean, that's how they're making their money. It's sponsorships. And I laugh because you go, you guys are grifters. You guys are out there. Well, I guess if I am, then Ted Daniel is too, because he's out there doing reporting too. And I'm going to tell you, Ted Daniel makes a fucking salary. So, I mean, it's okay when they get paid, but if independent media and people want to pick up that pick up a microphone and fight for the community and might have an interest in journalism and practicing their craft to become, a host and wanting to do a show, we're always the bad guys in this.
Yeah, but even now that I'm really reflecting on this statement and listening to you go through it, I am reminded of the fact that had the charges still been pending against Karen, Brennan's comments would have been wholly inappropriate. He is doing here essentially what Morrissey was doing in the hostage video in 2023, which is kind of commenting on the fact that the Alberts and the McCabe's have nothing to do with it, shifting who are the real victims here and focusing attention on those fact witnesses. And his statements were completely false at the time. Now we've got post-conviction comments from Brennan, who is, for all intents and purposes, the equivalent of Morrissey. He is a specially appointed district attorney, but subject to the same ethics rules as Morrissey is, making inappropriate and not factually supported allegations about all of Free Karen Reed movement supporters, whether they're content creators or boots on the ground or people on social media, etc. So I'm going to be interested moving forward to see what types of comments come out pre-trial as to Aiden. Because as everyone knows, he's been part of the clamoring for justice and transparency as it relates to Karen. I want to see if if the prosecutor's office, through its specially appointed district attorneys, whether it's Cosgrove or Mello, and now I'm hearing buzz it might be Brennan, which would be another career mistake for him. if they're going to go as far as to try to spin this narrative as it relates to him, this improper influencing of the public against certain witnesses, we'll have to see. But this statement
it's
is
going to be
awful.
an interesting one. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Let's do this. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but I'll play it. I don't know if you've caught this, but this was my speech down in, and again, I'm not trying to do the self-deprecation thing. I just want everybody to kind of see what went down on Sunday. We had a really great moment. And I want to say this, we had some commotion and conundrum down like with the creators and boots in the ground. And I got kind of sucked up in it. And a lot of it kind of got blamed on me. And I felt it was unfair. And there was some back and forth with certain people. And I just kind of withdrew from it and just said, okay, let me just give them some space, give it some time. Let's let it heal. And I ended up being able to go down in well before this, but be able to go down and mend some relationships and shake some hands. I'm always about peace. I try to keep things peaceful. And a really great moment happened out on Sunday where, you come out, you have the acquittal of Karen Reed, and it kind of just lets everybody go, and it's like all that shit, it just doesn't matter anymore, because at the end of the day, whatever was getting in the middle of it, we let that go, because the end result, we were all fighting for the same thing. And I've always said that we're all fighting for the same thing. And I know people are going to disagree with me, and they're probably going to disagree with Nan and people in the chat, what they may say, but the common goal was freeing Karen Reed. And we did that. We were part of that. We were part of history. This is a proud moment for everybody to be in. But my greater point is I'm getting in, and I didn't even expect this. And this popped up with Dennis Sweeney turning to the crowd and kind of giving some acknowledgement, and Dina, and moving things over with them. I don't hold grudges. I used to. I went through a year of therapy. I've relaxed so much, and I don't have an ill will to say anybody. I mean, they were out there in the heat and the fucking cold. And listen, it gets wild and egos get in the way, and I get it. You're protective, but we won. Okay, we won, and I'm waiting again to see their faces and share that joy and that jubilation in all of this. But I'll play this, and we'll end the show with that tonight. Again, I want to thank Nan Gallagher for jumping up on this Monday night. It's great to see her here, and it's been a long ride for a lot of us, and it's been great. ShamWow, thank you so much. Okay, sing along, Brian. I fought the law, and I won. I fought Morrissey, and I won. I fought Jen McCabe, and I won. Now it's my turn. This will be fun. You ain't seen nothing yet. I love that. All right, here we go. Oh.
Hollywood.
I want to say something about the women of this movement too. We don't physically have balls, but we have balls bigger than any.
I love Dina.
When things go away down on these front lines and stuff, we appreciate you guys so much. So together, we together this whole movement on the machine, and we beat it up a little bit. We're gonna fucking annihilate that machine. We made the Boston police officer John O'Keefe.
If I take one more second, I think my daughter sent me to I've had a checking pass with a little bit. We had our disagreements, didn't get along for a while, but I do want to talk about Brian from LTR.
Yeah, Brian, get over.
I want to shake his hand because he's done a lot, an awful lot, and the hatch is buried. We're all together. And thank God for guys like him.
And I did too, and it goes to show as adults, we can just speak like adults and work and fix things out despite our differences. And we're in this all together.
I'm not one for speeches. I can get on my channel and yak all day long, but I just want to say that, I appreciate all of you down here, supporting all the content creators. If Aiden Carney didn't bust this open in May, in April of 18, it would be a completely different. I say May because I always think of that first hearing when everybody's in the courtroom like this. It's just crazy. But that first pretrial hearing. But if Aiden Carney didn't bust this wide open, this would be a completely different trial for Karen. I heard that from Alan Jackson's lips to my ears. And you all today need to take a bow, because we've done something here that has never been done in years in Massachusetts. This is a very historic moment, and you all should be proud of every single thing that you did to take part of this historic moment. I sat out the other day, and when I watched Karen walk out with her team, it felt like a movie to me. Yeah. It felt like I was inside a movie, and I knew deep in my heart of hearts that it was supposed to end this way. It was supposed to end this way. And to watch... Here we go.
You got it.
Here comes emotional Brian.
Oh, come on.
And to watch Aiden walk down and be celebrated.
Yeah.
Because he deserves every single fucking thing in this. And he deserves every piece of good fortune that comes his way, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. This would be a different trial for Karen. So thank you all so much for all of you coming here and supporting, independent media, free of the media coverage. And you all know how they treated Karen in this. The photographs of her looking funny or weird or whatever, all the nasty news, mainstream media news articles that were posted about her, all the hit pieces that they did throughout this entire double trial. Again, I'm kind of running out of words here, but thank you all so much.
I get something
for
to say about
supporting
the
this.
media. They cut off Mizzy last week. Court TV did, in the middle of her sentence, and Matt turned his back and walked away from her like an asshole. So screw Court TV, and the media's got to learn, mainstream media. We're still not over with what's going on here. So when they come back and they treat anybody like shit, we're going to ignore them, turn their back, and it's independent media here in Massachusetts. Especially Channel 5. Ignore them.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Of course. That's it. It was fun.
Wow.
It was good. It was good.
I wish I could have stayed just a day or two longer to have been part of that. But Dina is right. There's still work to be done. I hated hearing when I saw this clip that you had posted earlier. I hated hearing that people turned their back on Mizzy. Yeah. I mean, Sandra Birchmore's matter is very near and dear to me. I know I want to focus on it. I know for anyone interested in what my 10-year-old son is a budding journalist, and a social media influencer at heart. He's learned a little bit, a very, very little bit about the Sandra Birchmore case that I felt was okay enough to share as his mom. And he's interested in Turtle Boy's actions too. And it's nice to see the healing that is going on amongst some of the content creators too. Like, I like to see that, and the boots on the ground from what I'm observing as well. So it's a time for healing.
It really is. It's a very great celebratory moment. And again, I say that with everybody. I mean, even people that are not here in Massachusetts, that just were in these chats for the last 2 years. You were all part of history. You did this. You helped get us through this. And there were many ups and downs and left and rights. And it looked just crazy. I mean, again, I truly think that it was gonna end this way. It really was. And it's just such a great moment again for Karen. And I just wanted to go try to pick up the pieces that she lost and just live a good life, Karen. You deserve every piece of good fortune that comes your way as well too. And you fucking fought and you didn't let them win. It was pretty cool.
Cool. I'm really proud of her, and I'm excited if I get a little glimpse of what she does with the rest of her life. I will feel very honored to, and maybe she'll live an extremely private life. But I'm just so proud of her resilience and that of her parents and her brother and her loved ones. So, and all of you, you all locally have taught me, and nationally and internationally have taught me, when you believe in something and you put 100% or more into it, things can happen. So stay dedicated and focused, and I'm in awe of all of you.
Yeah, I mean, I have it over my shoulder now. It says the best is yet to come. The best is
Yeah.
yet to come. So I'm kind of channeling that mantra. The best is. I have it, and Nan's seen it. I have it over
Yeah.
my door in my studio, and then right there it says never give up. It says never give up as you leave. So it's pretty cool.
Beautiful,
And,
beautiful.
yeah, I'm now kind of in the corner. I've kind of taken this corner. I'm kind of dressing it up a little bit. Maybe the decor is going to change. Maybe it stays the same. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But I'm kind of loving the zen, because you've been in here. It's very zen in here. So I think that's me. But look, we're running on 2 hours. I feel guilty that I've kept you this long.
It's always a pleasure.
Let's head out. And again, we want to thank everybody for hanging out with us this evening on this Monday night. I'm going to be back on Wednesday night, probably 7 p.m. with Jess Machado. She's going to join me on Wednesday, and we'll do a little bit of a wrap up. And I have a couple more wrap up shows that I want to do. And, then we're going to reevaluate. I am going to get back into the Idaho 4 case. We're 54 days away from that trial. I've spent a lot of time into that case. I got to get caught up a little bit. So I'm going to be dedicating probably about 60% of my lives going forward, the Idaho 4 case. And then we'll stick maybe 2 nights a week with some local stuff and continue to bang away on that. So, hopefully everybody will continue, joining here at LTL Media. I know you will. We've cultivated this audience. We've cultivated a great audience, and I'm excited to go forward and see what's going to happen. And I have some things in my works here. So stay tuned. Again, to my guest this evening, Attorney Nan Gallagher, thank you so much for joining me. And retired Mass State Police Todd McGhee. We know he had to jump off a little early. That's okay. And we'll be back soon. So we'll be back soon. Going to hit the outro. Can you hang for like 5 minutes afterwards?
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, everybody, have a great night. We'll see everybody soon. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Again, I'm Brian. This is LTO Media, and I appreciate everybody this evening. Take care. Bye-bye.